How's it going, everybody? I'm Jared Poirier, the founder of Galaxy Design, and I'm here to bring you guys another episode of the 5 series. And if things look a little bit different around here, that's because I'm not shooting this video in Toronto like I normally do. This video is coming to you guys on location from New York City. That's right, guys, I'm in New York right now, and I'm super excited because next week I'm gonna bring you guys the New York City vlog. But this video is actually going to be a follow-up to a video that I did last week, which was, of course, the 5 reasons to hire a graphic designer. And now that we've established all the reasons to hire a designer, we are gonna get into the 5 things that you need to do before you hire a graphic designer. Basically, in this video, we're gonna be talking about all of the things that you can do to prep yourself for working with a designer so that you can basically save time, save money, and get the best possible assets out of that relationship with a professional designer. So before we get into any of those points, I'm just going to calm down and take a little sip of my tea. Okay, Earl Grey, delicious. Let's get into the first point here, guys, and that is that you're gonna want to send over any branding, any assets that you already have. Gather all of those assets and send them over to your new graphic designer. And chances are that if you have any branding, any logos, brand colors, stuff like that in place, you are going to have to email the original designer who produced those assets the first time and make sure that you get those files, basically the original files that were created by the designer, because chances are once you've used the assets a little bit and you've repurposed them, they won't be quite high enough resolution, and you want to get the best possible resolution files and send those over to your new designer. And of course, remember, guys, the file type hierarchy that we've talked about many times on this channel. The best files are always going to be PDFs, followed by PNGs and JPEGs at the very bottom. So if you want to have very high resolution files to send over to your new designer, make sure that you email the original designer and hopefully get some PDFs. Okay, so before we get into the next point here, I'm just gonna have another sip of my tea. Okay, so point number 2 is to provide the designer with examples of other branding and other marketing that you like. So basically, you can go online or just take pictures of some advertising that you see in the real world. Basically anything that catches your eye, anything that you find appealing and you think will basically work well for your brand as well. You're gonna wanna gather all of those examples and send them over to your designer. Not so that your designer can rip off those other examples of branding and marketing, of course not, but what those examples are gonna do is give your designer a real sense for your taste. So everybody has a little bit of different artistic taste when it comes to marketing and branding, and basically you just want to give your designer an idea of what you like so that you, again, don't waste any time with your designer making something that might be perfect for someone else but just isn't right for you or isn't right for your brand. So go get those examples, send them over to your designer, and you are going to get some really good branding in return. So before we get into the third point here, I'm just gonna have another sip of my Earl Grey tea. Okay, so the next thing that you're gonna wanna do is provide the designer with some examples of fonts that you like. And if you already have a kind of established brand, you might already have some fonts that you like to use for your brand, and you probably would have already sent those over in the first step. But if you're kind of a newer company or you're rebranding, you might not have any fonts already that are associated with your brand. And in that case, you're gonna want to gather up some fonts that you like, that you think are going to work with your brand maybe, and send those over to your designer. And there are tons of different websites where you guys can download fonts. There's like Duh Font, a website called 1001 Fonts, I think, some free ones. Font Squirrel is one that I like to use a lot. It has a lot of the most popular fonts, and you can usually download them for free. but there are some websites out there where you are going to have to pay for a font. So if the font that you want to use is one that is a paid font, you want to have some system arranged with your designer, whether you will go and get the fonts from those sites and send them over to the designer after you've bought them, or the designer will buy them on your behalf and then make that part of your bill for design services. Either of those things is fine. You just want to make sure that you have some system in place so that you can get a hold of the best fonts for your brand. All right, so we're gonna go into number 4 here, but first I think I'll have another sip of my tea. Okay, so the next thing that you're gonna want to do here is to pick a communication platform, because you are going to be talking a lot with your new graphic designer. So whether it's Facebook, Facebook Messenger, or Instagram Messenger, WhatsApp, there's tons of these communication platforms, but basically you're gonna wanna pick one and you're going to want to establish that with your designer so that you know that any messages that you guys are sending back and forth isn't going to get lost. And of course, you do also want to make sure that the app that you're using, the platform that you're using to chat, also has the ability to send files, right? Because you're going to be sending tons of files back and forth with your designer as you perfect those designs. And that ties really nicely into my next point, but first I'm just gonna have one more sip of my Earl Grey tea. Okay, so the fifth and final point here, the fifth and final thing that you need to do before you hire a graphic designer, and that is to basically pick a platform that is going to allow you to send large files. So if you're working with a pro graphic designer and you're doing like a large scale print project, especially if it's for print, then you are going to be dealing with some incredibly huge files. And I mean big files, guys, files that are probably gonna be too big to send in an email and too big to send on some of the major messaging platforms that we just talked about, like Facebook Messenger and Instagram Messenger. If you're sending really big files, you're gonna need some type of cloud storage thing, like, I don't know, I don't use Apple, but whatever Apple cloud storage is called, or what I use is Google Drive, that's my favorite. Quite a few people use Dropbox. If you're sending really huge files, you might need to pay for a little bit of extra storage on these platforms just to make sure that you can send over all of those files, and that and just so that you're not running into this problem that sometimes comes up and can be very annoying when you're trying to get files from your designer and you're going through all different types of platforms. I've experienced myself, and it can be very frustrating for me and very frustrating for my client. And when everything else in the relationship is going perfect, you don't want like that just stupid platform thing to be getting in the way. So before you go into the project, just know if you're going to be sending large image files that you've agreed on some sort of like cloud platform, whatever it is, that you can send those files easily. So yeah, guys, that's going to be it for this video, and that's actually going to be it for this entire season of the 5 series. This season has been all about design, and it's been really fun just talking to you guys about my passion, about like the cornerstone of my business, the thing that inspired me to get into business, which is graphic design. Ever since I started with design, I've branched out into photography and video production and all of this stuff, but I still love design. I still love making brand assets for my clients, and I still love talking about it, and I hope that you guys really enjoyed these videos. I've got some really fun videos coming up in the next little while, guys. A few things that I'm planning I'll tell you about right now before I go. So next week we do have the New York City vlog, which is going to be me doing some business, hopefully, in New York City. And then I'm going to take a couple weeks off, and then I'm going to bring you guys my next series, which I'm super excited about. I won't tell you guys too much about it right now, but yeah, I guess I'll just leave it at that. We'll just kind of tease it. So thank you guys for watching this series. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that you guys really enjoyed it, and I hope that you'll join me for future videos on the Galaxy Design channel. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you later. I'm Toronto entrepreneur Jared Poirier, and if you've got a graphic design, website, or video content project that you've been fantasizing about, I'm the guy that can make it a reality. For more information, check out galaxydesigngraphics.com.